Next question comes from Sonia Manzo. Regarding You Are the Mountain, do you have suggestions on ways to successfully shift one's own misbeliefs? I've purchased a happy planner so that I can divide out several of my known misbeliefs. I want to take each one and pretend they are the misbelief of a character. It's a great idea. And then plot out ways in which that character would face and shift that misbelief in a book. I'm hoping that this way I can get around my own defense mechanisms. That's literally the only idea I have. It's a fantastic idea. I think that's a really, really great idea. The thing about one's own misbelief is that it is so pervasive. If you haven't done any of this work before, you have to start pretty small. And if your defenses go up, you have to get even smaller. So if you do have, and we all do, you have a defense mechanism when you are attending to your own misbelief, then shrink it down and make the challenge to your misbelief smaller. Today, I already mentioned this book on self-compassion. It's a really, really terrific book. Very, very hard work. And as you're already saying that you know that your defenses go up, I can't recommend it highly enough. The others, I got them out, but I haven't started them because it's a pretty steep mountain to climb. So there's a 3-volume course on self-talk, because how you talk to yourself is really important. It's written by psychologists and reviewed by psychologists. It's put out by Switch. I was pretty daring and I went for the self-love one. I haven't started these yet, but I have started doing the work. I've been doing this work with my therapist. And one of the things that you have to do is when your misbelief comes up, if you're in a relatively good place, if you're feeling good and your day's going okay and you've got enough spoons and your window of tolerance is quite high, so there's this idea that you've got a window of tolerance for what's coming at you, and when it's high, you can try a lot of new things and you can try scary things. But if you're under some kind of pressure, you haven't had enough sleep, you haven't been eating great, you don't feel good in yourself, you've just read a crappy review that's gotten under your skin, somebody said something mean to you, they all close your window of tolerance, which is why you lose your cool at different times, which is why you're triggered at different times, because this window of tolerance changes minute by second, in some cases, depending on how activated you are. But if you notice yourself, if you've got this big window of tolerance and you can try something, then the intellectual approach to it is to see whether or not you can fashion a counter argument. We started doing this in Vegas when I was talking to people. The cameras had to go off because it's union run. So the cameras go off on the 50-minute mark, but I carried on talking to people and it was lunchtime, so I got to talk to a lot of people and got to talk about whether or not they could counter their misbelief by bringing this intellectual practice of, is there anything in the world that I can say to myself that argues you? You literally lawyer up your brain and see whether or not you can argue that there is evidence that your misbelief is wrong. It's talking crap to you. Your brain is telling you lies. And so I remembered one woman said, I'm not competent. I can't do anything. And I said, I bet that's not true. She's like, no, if I do anything, it will all fall apart. So big barriers to getting things done. And I said, I bet I could find things. Did you dress yourself this morning? And she said, yes. I said, did you feed yourself? She said, yes. So you might need to go really, really small in the beginning to small successes, and then you celebrate them. You celebrate them like crazy, and you start to build this counter argument, this counter image of who you are and why your misbelief is a crock of shit. Then, other things you can do to get out of your brain. Walking is, if you can walk, if that's something that is available to you, doing something that is repetitive, having a shower, chopping vegetables, going for a walk, driving a car. They are all things that engage part of your brain to do something that is regular to you, that you don't have to think about, and it quiets the critical part of your brain. It's one of the reasons that we have good ideas when we're in the shower or going for a walk, is because we've got this repetitive action that we're doing that comes very naturally to us, and it frees up the creative side of our brain. The other thing that I started doing this summer was to give myself micro treats. And it turns out, so Sean Aker talks about this. You don't actually have to give, if they were saying that if you gave chocolate to somebody as a treat before they did the thing that they wanted to do, the brain already believes you've had the chocolate even if you haven't eaten it. So you can pre-treat yourself to get yourself into a place where you feel better, you feel like you can do something, you feel competent, and you feel you've given that little zing to your brain that says, here's your reward. And reward is a big deal for the brain. I'm going to talk about that a bit later with ADD and ADHD. And why there are such barriers, and why procrastination happens the way that it does so many times. So what I started doing in the summer was taking myself to the Sunday market and having tacos, and I went on my own. And it was just this tiny little thing. I also started buying myself flowers. My wife doesn't like flowers because they die, Schnittblumen. She doesn't like cut flowers because they die. And I love them because they're so colourful and bright and cheerful. So find little ways to pre-reward yourself. You can reward yourself for the tiniest thing. You can reward yourself for getting out of bed, because some days that's just about as far as it's going to go. Some days you're going to write 10 words. Some days you're going to write 1,000. My goal is to write 6,000 every day. I don't do that every day, but I try every day. We're going to go on in the next question to talk about how you do things when you have got some barriers to them. So I hope there's some ideas there for what you can do to start countering your misbelief. You can tackle it. You can do something that is a diversion from it. So go to something like the walking idea is go do something with your body that takes you out of your mind and out of those voices. And also, start reprogramming, start flipping that narrative, flip that narrative entirely so that you tell yourself the opposite. And I don't care if you have a Pinterest board or if you have a vision board or if you have something on your desk. Start saying wonderful things to yourself about yourself. And if they're too big and you think that you're a crock of shit and you think they're not true, go smaller. So whenever you freak yourself out, just go smaller. Don't stop. Don't walk away from it and not come back to it. If you have to go for a walk, but then come back to it. Make that commitment to yourself to heal this, to get out of your own way and to reprogram. Oh, we're over 7 minutes. Your mind. We're nearly at 8 minutes. All right. So I hope there are some ideas. Shoot me a note if you have got any other thoughts, but I hope there are some micro ideas in there. Alrighty, on to the next one.